Hi guys, it's Ashley, and this is my vlog about our trip to the Milwaukee Public Museum and what I saw about how culture and environment can affect posture and gait in many of the ancient cultures that we were able to see. The first culture that I saw where the culture affected their posture was in the large Native American display where the Native Americans were on horseback chasing after bison. The Native American culture largely revolved around these bison hunts as well as upon riding on horseback throughout most of their daily life as they were traveling from place to place following the bison herds and their migrations. While riding on horseback, Native Americans would have had to adopt a flexed trunk as well as a flexed neck and flexed knees as well as abducted hips in order to hold them onto their horse. This would have caused considerable stresses on many of the muscles that were holding them in this position as well as upon many of their joints. When riding upon horseback, the Native Americans would have had to be constantly shifting their posture in order to keep up with the rapid and often unpredictable changing motions of the horse as well as of the bison. To keep them safe, to keep them on their horse, to keep them from falling off, they would have always had to be changing their posture. This would have caused them to have increased trunk musculature. Their erector spinae muscles, their abdominal muscles would have had to be stronger in order to change to those rapid changing movements. They would have also had to have increased leg musculature, which would have had to adapt in order to make them more effective at holding onto their horse as they were riding, as obviously during those times there were no saddles or reins in order to help them hold on to their animal. It would all have to be their own musculature as well as musculature of their arms when they were throwing the spears and trying to kill the bison. They would have also had to have repeated stresses on their vertebral column as well as upon many of their joints from the rapid jolting motions of the horse as well as from just the daily strain of riding a horse for most of your day. They would have spent long days on horseback, and if you've ever spent a long day on horseback, you'll know yourself how much that can affect your own body, how much your muscles and joints can be sore, especially if you haven't spent a lot of time on horseback. The second culture that I was able to examine was the Eskimo culture, and in that culture I was able to see how their environment would have affected their gait. Being from the Midwest and the winters that we have, we know how difficult it can be to traverse ice and snow to keep ourselves upright and to keep ourselves from falling. We often have to change our own gait in order to keep ourselves safe. And of course, the Eskimos would have had to adapt in many of the same ways that we do in the winter. When traversing ice, they would have had to adopt a more shuffling and often a slower gait in order to increase their time in double limb stance, increase their stability, and keep them from falling. When traversing through deep snow, they would have had to have increased hip flexion as well as increased ankle dorsiflexion in order to raise their leg higher than they would have normally had to step over the large drifts of snow and through the deep snow. In both of these examples, it's pretty clear to me that posture and gait are greatly affected by both culture and the environment in basically every ancient culture that we were able to see. But of course, it's important to keep in mind that these things also affect our modern people. Posture and gait can be greatly affected by your own patient's culture and their environment. We always have to keep that in mind because that's going to affect how we are able to treat them and how we're able to be more effective practitioners. But thanks for watching, and I hope you guys all had a great time at the museum. I know I did.